Morning, everybody. I'm Grazia Sigismondo, and I'm social media and community marketing consultant at ADV Media Lab. Today's guest is Zhecho Dobrev, author and customer experience and behavior science consultant and trainer. The interviewer is Sara Ballerone, our CRM and customer experience management senior consultant. Zhecho has spent more than 14 years helping many of the world's most renowned organizations improve their customer experience, including American Express, FedEx, and Caterpillar. And he recently published his first book, The Big Miss: How Organizations Overlook the Value of Emotions, which is the main focus of today's interview. So I won't take up any more of your time. I just want to thank Zhecho for being with us today. And please, Sara, I'll give you the floor.
Thank you. So, hi, Zhecho. It's a real pleasure to meet you. I recently read your new book, The Big Miss, and I can't wait to ask some questions about it. So, first started, what is, for a lot of companies, this big miss?
Yes, I see this every day with every conference that I go. So first, my research, and I based my book on research that I did during the COVID pandemic, when everything came to a stop, at least for us in the consulting industry. I had some time on my hand and some questions. So I based on my research, but also and my friend, Professor Ryan Hamilton from Emory University, he says that in science, when several researchers come up with similar conclusions, that's a good thing. You're not up there inventing something. So my research and that of many others for many years has shown that emotions are the main driver of customer behavior. Mm-hmm. And again, when we come to customer experience and behavior, this means like we buy more from organization more often, etc. So this is what businesses want. So the big miss is that emotions are the main driver of customer loyalty, of behavior, and yet organizations don't have a strategy that is based on data and science. And when I say strategy, that means like purposefully trying to evoke certain emotions that their data shows are key to drive the desired behavior. They don't have this strategy based on data and science to evoke those emotions. They also don't measure emotions. And that for me is a big miss, because those are the main drivers of the behavior that they're trying to get.
Thank you. So directly linked to this, we're reading more and more about how service and experience economy is shifting now to an emotion economy. So how this shift is manifesting, and how companies can see this shift in their everyday work?
Sure. This is a very good question. I've been thinking about. So just a few weeks ago, I was at one super big conference of one of the fastest growing cloud service providers in the States. I noticed executives are talking a lot about empathy. In a few weeks, I'll be going to another conference in South Africa, and then again, I noticed people talk about empathy. And there's also other topics related to emotions as well. So I see on executive level, other people coming with some joy index and trying to incorporate. So yes, a lot of people are trying to talk more about emotions. But I think those are people that are kind of getting it. They're like many levels down. So just before, so people talk empathy, but just a few weeks ago, I was training the contact center agents of a bank. And we had to debate what empathy means and is it important. So those are people born year 2000. They think they know it, everything, etc. So I think there's a bit of disconnect between some people getting it and talking about it to actually doing the things on the work, on the ground, and also other layers inside the organization, understanding what it really means. So that is on one side, but even AI, and I guess we'll talk about AI more, but even AI, there's now tools and language models that could understand and score sentiment and understand some of the emotions in this. So even AI is getting it this part at rating agents, how well they're delivering empathy and other things. There's also this thing, which is again driven by AI, which is about facial emotion recognition technology. So even that technology could recognize what emotions we're feeling right now in this conversation. And that is used in marketing and in other places. So yes, it's changing. More organizations are paying more attention to that, but there's still some gaps and disconnects.
Yes, and yes, there are two sides, and just for this reason, what can we do to prepare for this shift? On the other side, I mean, and what will happen if we don't do it?
Yes, okay, very good question. So again, there's a few sides to that, but for me, most important is for people to realize how important are emotions on the first place. And to realize that, I think what it also helps is for people to understand, because again, I think this is another big miss. In customer experience, people are saying, you need to ask customers, you need to talk to customers. This is the second big miss that I think many people don't understand is if you ask people, and depends the type of questions you ask them, but if you ask them what is important to you, why did you do this, they would give you a very rational answer. What is easy to verbalize? It kicks our system 2 thinking. You're asking me this question, I'm giving you rational answers. But the reality is most of the decisions are taken on an emotional or subconscious level. 99% of the decisions, depending again what situation, context, and things, even the ones that we think are rational, they could be influenced by emotions deep down in our childhood, or we saw someone using the same product, and we look, oh, how cool it would be if I looked like that as well. So oftentimes we don't realize how we are influenced, but when you ask people, they'll give you rational answers, and they say, oh, people said this, people said that, but that is often a deception. So I think, going back to your question, the first step is educating people to start to understand how customer and people's decision making works, what influences their decision making, which is often about emotions, and then what they could do on their end to affect design, decision making, and other things. But I think it starts first with understanding about the role of emotions and psychology that plays in this.
Yes, thank you, Zhecho, for taking this topic out, because I was wondering exactly this. That in your book you are saying that customers generally don't say or don't think that what they actually feel or what actually influences what they are buying, their buying actions. So in your opinion, how do we bridge this gap between thinking and doing, or thinking and feeling?
Yes. Well, let me just say, because just 2 days ago I was at this conference. I think it was 2 days, or maybe it was last week. Nudge Talk, and one of the people I quoted in my book presented there. This is Professor Paul Zak, and what they said is he's amongst the not 3%, so the not 3%, but 0.3. So at the top of all scientists quoted globally in any science, not just in our field of psychology and marketing. And again, he said this pretty much the same thing as I did, but I don't think many people understood how important it is and the gravity. So to bridge this gap, I think it comes down to a few things. Number one, if you're still relying on traditional research, at least include emotions as part of your modeling, because like we said, emotions are the main drivers of customer behavior, and if you don't include emotions in your mix, you essentially are missing 50% of the big picture. Again, my research showed that about even using traditional methods, emotions account for about 50% explain about 50% of customers' attitudes and behavior towards brand. And then the second thing is do more implicit research. What is implicit research? This is not asking, hey guys, what do you prefer, this or that, or what would you do? What is most important to you? But this is to say, hey guys, here are 3 service descriptions. You have this money. Which one would you buy? Or hey guys, here are 3 descriptions. Which one do you buy? And people click. Now this is more implicit research. Or given, hey guys, here's 4 ads, or just trying to do like 4 ad options and just looking what people actually click, what people actually do. So this is more example of implicit research. Again, other examples of implicit research would be, let's say, using facial emotion recognition or other things where you don't ask people, how did you fail? Where we don't ask people, what do you do? But just looking what actually engages your brain, what actually engages your emotions. So as you see with some of these options, there's ways to bypass just asking people what is important to you.
Yes. And you were saying before that there are different levels of awareness about the emotion side of this big mess. And how do you think we can raise awareness in people that are not on a strategic role or on a leadership role, but on the operation side of the team?
Yes, again, this is a very good question, because now that I have been in this industry for about 14, 15 more years, I started to go back to, which projects and companies and programs were successful and which were not. And I started with this word projects, but when some organizations see this initiative as a project, we're going to assemble a team and we're going to disassemble the team in the next budget cycle, things dissipate a little bit. But the ones that have achieved long-term number of years growing success are the ones that engage the wider teams, more trained with more, like you say, operational people. Because the other thing that I've been thinking is I found that each of us makes about 35,000 decisions every minute. So even right now you're making decisions, shall I listen to Zhecho or shall I check other things, right? So this is one of the 35,000 decisions that we're making. So imagine in an organization, how many decisions are taking every day. And so we found that the ones that focus on getting more buying, more understanding how everyone has an impact on the end customer experience, not just customer experiences for these customer service people that talk to people, they're the ones most successful. So I would say engage more this middle group, more back office. Again, I told you that I was at this contact center. Contact center people, they don't create the contacts. The contacts are created by the ones who designed and the legal terms of this program. And because of legal process is set the way it is set, and because of cybersecurity process is set the way it is set, and that creates these calls and contacts, and they create complaints. And there's a complaints team, and again, I look at that, but those are created by other functions in the organization. So it's important that you work and you address those other functions, and they also address how emotions impact the end experience, so that they understand how each and everyone can have a role to play in this. Yes.
That's really, really important.
I'll give you some really simple understanding. So even like product development has a role in this. So I'm now using, recently I bought a new Mac computer, and it has now this USB-C. So in order to me to go and present to organizations, I had to get this thing that has So I'm buying a new thing, and they all have these ports. So I'm looking, okay, does it have the port? So how am I making a decision? Well, I explain in my book, in the design of products, even there's emotions there. So it's about behavior. Is it easy to use? It's about visceral design. How does design looks like? and it's about the last element was something about like for people like me, reflective design. This product reflects me as personality. That's why you're buying the watch, your headphones, the computer, the car, because it somehow reflects your personality. So with this one, the reason I bought this and not all the others is because you see the cable is hidden. So it makes it a nice and sleek design. So when I go to my client, I can see, oh, look at this nice and shiny thing. So even, and all the others, the cable was not hidden. So this is what made me to buy this one and not all the others. So there's emotions even in this product design.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting. And thank you for the live example.
Yes.
And I can help but ask how AI is impacting this emotion economy, given that AI can simulate perfectly but not feel empathy, actually. So will it help businesses taking in consideration emotions, or is it a paradox somehow?
So there is a little bit of paradox. I'll get to that, but I think there's a helpful side. Is that so? Again, in my research, when I found that emotional attachment is the main driver of customer attitudes and behavior towards us, I then looked at the traditional customer touch point categories that most organizations look at. What creates this emotional attachment? And yes, brand and advertising, they do that. Product, like we said, there could be emotions with products as well, but also customer service, I think, was the number one, customer service interactions. And AI now has a role in customer service, and that is, imagine that you have all these agents and you are in charge of training those agents and quality control. So what's happening now is, if you don't have that, you're just randomly selecting a few phone calls, but you can only listen to a number of phone calls. And let's say you have 10 agents or something, so you have to randomly select 5 calls for each 10 agents and kind of like coach them on that. Now, if you employ these language and sentiment analysis models, they could give a sentiment score for each call. They could show you the parts of the call that are in red with negative, with green with positive, and some of the more advanced ones. So in my book, I explain about a model that they've analyzed more than 1 million or many millions of calls. And at the end of many of those calls, people rate the quality of their actions. There's also sentiment analysis that they can do on the call. And they have found the 10 agent behaviors that are proven to drive this positive customer sentiment and satisfaction. And many of those things were things that I also discovered in my research. Things like taking ownership, showing respect, showing empathy, active listening, and things like that. So the AI model can rate the agent on each of these aspects, and they can say, okay, this agent is very good on showing respect, but maybe active listening, you could do more work on that. Imagine like a spider diagram. So there is this part of the AI that could be helpful, and some of these could do like real life prompts. Maybe too much crosstalk, we're talking over each other, or maybe it has sensed something that the customer has said, and they could show like maybe this is the time to show empathy. So in this case, there's some good use that AI could be put to help the agent express those things, and also so that agents don't waste time looking for the right information, having those things like this. But there's also we started with this that there's also a bit of a challenge there. And that is I think someone said, and I believe this as well, that in future people will pay premium for more kind of human centered or oriented experience, and more human to human experiences. So I think there's also that part to be aware that there will be people who crave those experiences as well.
Thank you so much.
You know what? Just a few years ago, one company asked us. This was a very good question right from the start. They said, "Okay, we are gonna go through a digital transformation. We're gonna invest in new digital infrastructure, data lakes, and all that stuff." So they said, this was an insurance company, which parts of the experience we should keep the human element or redeploy the human element to, and which parts of the experience should we digitize? Now, I thought that was a great question right from the start. And again, we did find that actually, as the human and the advisor's experience, that was a key driver of that relationship and connection. But there were parts where clearly, with a better technology, they could actually improve, like the claims processing, insurance, because this was B2B. A lot of legal advisors are involved in legal cases. So imagine the length and all of that. So that was clearly, it was very manual, email driven. So that was a case where more portal, proactive things where technology could help, but there was other parts where they could keep and redeploy the human element.
Thank you so much, Zhecho, and thank you for this other brilliant example. So thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Zhecho, and thanks, Sara. And special thanks to everyone who will see this, who will watch this interview.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you, Zhecho. It was our pleasure, really.
Thank you. Bye.